Ladies and gentlemen, hey, welcome back to Learning C# for Lesson 7, Part C in the expressions lesson here. In this last part here, we're going to look at the ternary operator and then a few others that just don't really categorize well. So let's go ahead and get started here. And the ternary operator, this is really there's really only one ternary operator. This operator can also be called the conditional operator. This operator contains three expressions, hence the name ternary. I often refer to this operator as the inline if statement because that's kind of what's happening once you break it down and look at it. So let's go ahead and take a look at some code here to see how this actually works. Now I've constructed a small little program here that it's going to kind of demonstrate how this actually works. So if we look at our code here, we have just a small program here that's just a console application. We have a Boolean variable here that's going to be our while loop control, and then we have some input. So basically what this program does here is it asks the user for a number, and then it uses some modulus math or the remainder operator to see whether or not the number is going to be odd or even. And right here is our ternary operator. And as you can see, it takes the user input and does remainder 2 on it. And if the remainder is greater than 0, it's going to be an odd number. And if it is 0 or less than that, which it shouldn't be, it should always be 0. If it's going to be even, it'll display even. So it looks kind of odd to look at this for the very first time. But basically, what this is actually doing, if you were to write this out longhand, you'd have this right here. It would say if the int user input remainder 2 is greater than 0, then do this, else if it's not, we're going to do this. So you can see that we have the question mark and we have this the colon in here. So this is basically if. Here's the if part that evaluates that, and then then you have the if this evaluates to true right after the question mark, this statement here gets activated, or I don't know if you want to say activated, but this statement gets executed because this evaluated to true. If this evaluates to false, it skips this and then goes to the end here, and where the colon's at, and evaluates that there. So it's not a typically complicated one to actually use and work with. Sometimes if you don't use them a lot, you kind of just forget the order of where the question mark and the colon goes here. But when I say inline if, is because what we're actually doing here is we're actually setting a variable's value equal to whatever this statement comes out to be. So yeah, again, we could do this longhand version, but sometimes it's not what we want to do there. We just want to do it on the inline there. If you're not used to it, it might look like it's difficult to read, but once you work with them enough, you'll be like, okay, yeah, I know what's going on there. I know how to use these efficiently, and this, that, and the other thing. So basically, you can only have 2 outcomes with this particular operator here. If you need more, then you'll have to go to the traditional if then else if type of statements and whatnot. So then after we evaluate that and take a look and see what's going on with our number there, then we just go ahead and output it to the actual screen, and then we have a question down here that says, hey, do you want to continue running the program? And then it just loops back around. So let's go ahead and run this. And as you can see here, our prompt is input any number, and we'll go ahead and put in 8,694. We'll press enter, and that number is even. So we'll say, yeah, we'll run that number, or run the program again. Now let's go and put in 5, and as you can see, the output, that's going to be an odd number. So we run the program again. We'll say no this time, and then we have press any key to exit. So practice this here. Just remember the question mark is always first, then the colon is always second there. You can do any type of if right here you want. You don't have to use this. You could do, if I could just say, the user input equal to 2, or something like that. Could put the user input greater than 5,000. it doesn't matter what it is. You could put booleans in there. You could put some type of division stuff going on in there. This here isn't limited to just remainder and arithmetic operators. You can pretty much do anything here that can be evaluated to true or false. So with that being said, let's go ahead and move on here. We'll go look at some of the other operators. These operators here in C#, like I said, they really can't be categorized. So we'll take a look at some of these and see how they actually work. First one we'll look at is the is operator. Basically, this checks to see if a variable is a given type, and it returns true if it is that given type. Otherwise, it's false. So, like here in our example, we have a variable int I equals 0, and then we have our Boolean variable is test equals I is int. So basically, what we're saying here is the variable I, is it an integer? And then if it returns true, it'll set our variable here to true. If it's false, it'll set it to false. And I believe we do have a small little program here. We can actually demonstrate that. Let's just go ahead and open it up. Here we go. Maybe it's in here. Let's take a look at this one. Yes, okay. So we have the is operator, and just as we had in there, we have an integer here, and then we have our Boolean is test, and we ask it, is our variable there, is it an integer type? And we can go ahead and run this and make sure this is commented out. Yes, it is. Alright, so what we have here is underscore L integer an integer type, and it is, so we'll go and it sets that equal to true. So we could also we can just set this, put that as a string, and we'll just put this as an empty string there. Another way you can do, speaking of strings, instead of doing double quotes there, 2 double quotes, you can also do string.empty. I prefer this method rather than just doing an empty string literal. So let's go ahead and run this one here. And now we can see that is the integer an integer type, and now that we've set it to string, it returns false there. So pretty easy if you want to do some type checking in something that passes in parameters, or something that's supposed to expect something, and it has to be a specific type. You can always use a check like this to make sure that particular type is actually being passed into your procedure or a public property or something along those lines. So now we can go ahead and take a look at the other one here, and that's going to be the as operator. The as operator attempts to perform a conversion on a reference type. If the conversion is successful, the object variable would hold a reference to a string object. If the conversion fails, the object variable will become null. The two variables are independent of each other. The object variable is not a reference to the first variable, so even though the word reference is in here, it's saying that it holds a reference to the string object and not the actual variable that you did the conversion on. So let's go ahead and take a look at that one and see what that's all about here. Let's go ahead and comment this stuff out here, and then we'll uncomment this. So what we got here is we have a string variable, and we just set it equal to hello. And then we have an object variable, and we do our string variable 1, and we set it as a string. We said it does the conversion. So basically, what we're saying here is, hey, even though you're an object variable, we want you to use this variable here and change it to a string type variable, or string type variable. So as you can see, I'll go ahead and demonstrate how they are not a reference types, and they're basically a by value type. And if you look at one of my previous videos, I think it's chapter 6, talking about data structures, I go into some detail there on the difference between reference and by value. So this is just going to demonstrate that. So what we have here is you'll see that our first string variable here is hello, and then we have our object. We set it equal to that, or we do a conversion to a type string, and then we output both of them. And as you can see, the first 2 outputs are hello, hello. And then we come down here and we set the object equal to welcome, and then we output them again. And as you can see, the string variable is still hello, and the object has become welcome. So, like I said, they are not tied to each other because they're by value and not by reference. So that's the as operator, just an easy way to convert something into another type. It does come in handy quite often if you need to do that. So let's go ahead and move on here. There are a few others that we probably we won't go over here, but you can look these up and work with them on your own. And that includes the size of operator, the type of, checked and unchecked. I would definitely probably look into most of these. The size of, maybe not so much. That's just gonna, that one basically just gives you back the size of a particular variable type. Like if you have an integer, when you say what's the size of this, it might return 4. The type of, that'll just get you the type of whatever you're working with. So if you're working with a lot of things that just have the object, and they're changed around or something like that, you can check that. You can do the type of and get the actual type of the variable you're working with. Checked and unchecked. I'm not going to go into a whole lot of detail about these right now, but these are something that you would probably use in, let's see here. I can't think of an example right now. I can't think of it. Sorry about that. Yeah, definitely look into checked and unchecked. It basically comes down to, is something's being passed in, or if some type of code is being run and it has to be checked. I forget the example right now that I had. I had a good one too. I'm sorry. So anyway, yeah, look those up, and I think you'll definitely find those handy in the near future. So the next lesson, we're going to start working with classes, and this lesson here is going to be a lot of fun because classes are what drive our programs and is the fundamental building blocks of object-oriented programs. So I hope you stick with me, and if you like the video, go and give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more of these, certainly go ahead and click subscribe, and we'll see you in the next lesson.